Richards through the seam, deflected shot. He scores!
Coffee gets it back into the zone. Cutter, backhand shot, one rebound, he started on the block, hip-hop, trendsetters, the score with hard knocks and the attitude era. Yeah, I just wanted to be one of the best, holding the mic as I'm yelling out D's in the I don't know how that's bothered, but they just might have been.
What is going on, everybody? We are back. Flyer and Ice. I am Dan Old School Green with the great Nick the Scout Tosti. Do not get used to that intro. I love it, Nick, but new year, new intro.
It's gonna be tough to beat.
My nephew, Aiden the intern, is working on a new intro, and we have a new logo. So if you look at the top, you can see our new logo. So we have to, matriculate everything into the new intro. So, year one, Nick, we had a semi-decent start, and then the Flyers fell apart. Year two, we looked for things to change. Will Carter Hart be the goal that we all thought? Will this team bounce back? Had a decent start, and then completely fell apart. Coach got fired. Mike Yeo wasn't much better. 61 points, one of the worst teams in the history of our organization. Year three, I'm not optimistic. I don't think you're optimistic. I think we're a bottom three team. The only thing you have going for you is maybe the juice of a new coach, but the talent is just not there. You've got an injured Hart. You've got an injured Farabee. You've got an injured Couturier. Brian Ellis is still out probably forever. I just don't know. And then the news that Cam York was sent down, to me, is just stupid. I don't know. Listen, we didn't see training camp. I caught snippets of the preseason, and some of the preseason games I caught, he wasn't in that lineup. So I don't know what he did wrong to get sent down. Tell me what your thoughts are on them getting but sending down Cam York.
Well, I mean, I think my first reaction is basically what you see from most of this fan base via social media is, how can a team that struggles to put looks like it's going to struggle to put a roster together to be in what you're saying, a bottom three team. And I think you're probably not that far off, but if we're thinking this team is going to be as bad as it is, and you can see on paper it is, it's trending that way. I mean, that's the trajectory it's going, we got the arrow pointing down. How do your top prospects not make the roster going into day one, to game one? And it's, I think this is kind of a testament to, Tortorella's philosophy. I mean, I think he said he showed flashes of who he could be, with his mental and physical parts of the game together, but he didn't get all the way there. I don't know exactly what that means, but who's getting all the way there in training camp, So, Dan, we've had countless shows on where, this prospect in our system and who we've got coming up and who we thought could possibly be making the roster this year. And a lot of these kids are hurt now too, including people that we haven't talked about, and Bobby Brink and, Forster recovering from an injury, having a really, really good camp. Also, in the same boat and on the same bus back to Lehigh with Cam York. So, to me, I don't understand it. I mean, I guess if I was put in a situation and I was John Tortorella as a coach, you don't have the same mindset that what we're talking about as far as feedback goes from the rest of this fan base. You don't have, Tortorella and Fletcher saying, this is the worst, this is the worst roster we've seen in, 10 years. And, the trajectory doesn't look good. They've got to put a competing product out there. Or they could do what the Rangers did 4 years ago or 5 years ago, which was send a letter to their entire fan base saying that, we apologize in advance, but this is all going to work out. We are going to rebuild this team and everybody's going to really be happy about it. No, by the way, how well did that go for them last year?
No, I can't agree with you more. If you feel like you need, the only thing I could think of, I'm just trying to think to some extent outside the box here. We have a lot of right-handed defensemen now. So with the lefty defenseman, there's no physicality other than Sealer and Connaughton, and they're the
Right.
kind of guys that are your seventh defenseman, right?
And Ristolainen was supposed to be that guy, though. I mean, that
Right,
was
but
really
but
that
he
was he
but
was
but
supposed to be that guy.
he's your right-handed physical defenseman.
Right.
Braun ultimately plays soft. Um, D'Angelo is a banger for his size. So you're getting no physicality from the lefties. I mean, Sanheim plays soft. Provorov somewhat take you to the boards, but not a really heavy banger. So I don't know. I guess
Nah.
they have a lot of clones. I guess is what I'm thinking. Maybe they needed York to like play so far and above what I don't know. I really don't know. Too many things.
Well, I mean, it's. I mean, this defensive core now looks. It's basically same book, different page, right? With the exception of the addition of D'Angelo, who will more than likely be on the first pair with Provorov. And then you're going to see the Sanheim Ristolainen pairing at number 2, and the Sealer Braun at number 3, and guys like Adder and Zamula. Are going to just kind of the youngsters that we're just all dying to see grow in this organization sit by the wayside again, while while you and I and many others are going to plead insanity here that we're just seeing the same thing over and over again and seeing and expecting a different result. So,
and the funny thing is, like,
it's a head shaker.
Braun signing was a disgrace. I mean, Braun was played above his head for like the first third of the season, and then he was mediocre at best. It wasn't like he was this great defenseman the whole year. And the fact that Sanheim won the
Right.
Barry Ashby was also a joke because it was like picking the worst wart on your face. Do you know what I mean? It was so bad defensively. Like, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
Sanheim is like absent half the season. Like, where are you? And then he has flashes, but to win the Barry Ashby on this team, it was like,
Yeah.
pick your poison for crying out loud.
Exactly.
I would have, if you want, I would have not signed Braun and let Addard and York perhaps fight for that spot. Even if you want to go right-handed, all right, stick with Addard, and then have the Sealer Connaughtons as your depth pieces. But to sign Braun and again block someone on a team that's going nowhere is ridiculous. It, it- you know, I just I don't see him being the trade chip again mid-year. Like, he's going to be this really solid defenseman, and we're going to trade him again for a third or fourth round pick.
Right.
Anyway, so the Flyers, in my opinion, I mean, you've got the Coyotes, the Canadians, the Flyers. I mean, who else do you see being a bottom 3 team? I mean,
At the bottom of the barrel. I
bo
mean, I
yeah,
would throw Chicago in there, I guess.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
they
feel
got
like
rid of a lot of talent. So those are your bottom 4 teams, the ones we just mentioned. So, it's basically a race for the 2 stud draft picks, coming up.
yeah.
Uh, all right, so
Yeah.
and now let's
Um,
transition away from the Flyers. Obviously, we've discussed that the young kids like Forster and York were disappointed they're not going to be playing. Brinks
right.
out, so it's going to be again just a revolving door of these guys up and down all year again. Teasing us with, hey, he played
Yeah.
a week. He's
Once
back in the
again, kids
minors.
like Wisdom and Denoye. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wisdom and
you're,
Denoye, a sniff.
Nick, you're frozen a little bit, so maybe reboot and then come join us.
Uh,
All right. Oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah.
I have you
You went
frozen. Yeah.
No, I was okay. So, yeah, so we'll move on from the Flyers. The bottom line is Nick and I are disappointed already about some of the decisions that are being made. Um, and we'll just see. I mean, it's just it could be a very long season. And again, you just got to pray that the Morgan Frosts of the world really step up their game, and that Farabee gets back earlier than expected. Because if he was healthy, I was hoping he would be a 35 goal scorer this year. That's the kind of jump you needed from your team. But let's talk,
Right.
realistically, the
Right.
teams that we believe are going to represent each division and even project the wild cards. So let's start with the Atlantic. Um, I have, not in any particular order. I have if you want to go in a particular order, I'll say Leafs, Lightning, Panthers
Hmm.
for the Atlantic as my top three teams that get in automatically. Who are
Hmm.
your three from the Atlantic?
I mean, my first gut is that if just to try and throwing a wild card in there and get rid of some of the chalk. I would say maybe Leafs, Panthers, Senators. Ottawa is a really is an up and coming young team, and with the addition of Giroux, maybe to give some leadership there, I would just to mix it up a little bit, go Panthers, Leafs, Ottawa.
No, that's fair enough. I totally get that. Um, for the Metro, I have, and this is my order. I have the Canes, Rangers, and the upstart Devils.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, Dan. About a year or a year and a half ago, we were having conversations on this show in particular about the Devils and the Rangers are the two teams to look out for in the Met, and
And we said we'd
and
swap talent for them in a heartbeat,
yeah,
and a lot of our
exactly,
viewers were calling us crazy, and I'm like,
exactly,
"You guys are kidding
exactly,
me." So do you have those
exactly.
three teams as well?
I do. Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, the Islanders and the Devils to me could be a, you know, 6 to 1, half dozen to another, and even the Capitals. So I mean, Hurricanes, Rangers is a stone lock. And then and for me, I mean, it's a toss up. Your Penguins, Capitals,
Yeah.
Devils, Islanders, kind of
Well,
thing there. It'll come down.
that's really how we address the wild card, right? So if we go, you and I seem to share the same brain with the Rangers, Canes, and Devils, and we also kind of you kind of deviated from the chalk, but I think your gut said Panthers, Lightning, Leafs. So
Right,
I think my wild card, gun to head, I'd say Pens, Bruins, but you can
right,
have the Sens, Islanders, even Detroit if they
right.
somehow. Detroit is like my Detroit and the Senators are my wild card, not my wild card team, but my
Mm-hmm.
wild card within the wild card. Like
Mm-hmm.
the team that could really take that Ranger-like jump that the Rangers had. That's
Right,
what they're building towards.
right.
So, do you feel the same about those teams?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's jump to the West, and we'll start with the Central. I have the Avs, Wild, and Stars. How about you?
Yeah, I think the Blues run is going to come to an end. They really, I think Berube's done a great job out there from the start of winning the Stanley Cup. But it's just I don't think they're a team that can really compete with that. To me, in my opinion, is the strongest division in all of hockey. I go Avs Wild 100%. I like the Stars. But I'm going to go Jets. I'm going to go Jets in place of the Stars. I think they just had an off year last year, fired their coach, got some new leadership in there. Good young talent, great goaltending. As Wild, Jets, Stars, wild card.
Okay. And in the Pacific, I'll do my wild card after I do
Okay.
the three winners. Pacific, I think I wouldn't say slam dunk. I think the Oilers and Flames might be, and then I have Vegas as the third team. And then my wild card, based on what I just said, would be I think I have the Kings, the Preds, and I have the Winnipeg Jets as the team that could surprise. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't necessarily a surprise because they had an off
Right.
year last year. But I think if they bounce back, I think they could actually be a top three team in their division.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They've got the talent, and they absolutely have the goaltending. So we could just if their coach can put this all together, they'll be there.
So talk to me about
Without
your
them.
Pacific.
I'm Flames, Oilers, Knights. Yeah, I mean it's Kings. I thought about, and then I kind of just went through their roster again, and I thought maybe that I would have them as a wild card team, but for coming out of that division, I go Calgary, Edmonton, Vegas.
Okay. Now, obviously, we're not going to go through all the machinations of who plays whom, but who's what's our cup final look like? I'll tell you mine. You can tell me yours. By the way, and I, I'm remiss for not saying this earlier. I think the Panthers will be in the top 3, but going to your point earlier about, if you were to deviate just a little bit from chalk, I think the Panthers might drop 10 to 15 points from last year.
Yeah.
I think
And
they I think they I think they did a disservice with that trade, to be honest
I
with
do
you.
too.
I think they shook up their locker room, and they got rid of 2 talented players and a lot of draft capital.
Right.
I don't think it was necessary. So that's just my little spin. But anyway, my Stanley Cup Finals is the Canes and the Avs, and I have the Avs repeating.
Mm-hmm.
You, sir.
Well, it pains me to say this, but I'm going to go Rangers and Avs with the Avs repeating.
No, the Rangers again. It's funny. We were bred to hate them, but I can't hate that team.
I
I
know, me too.
respect the hell out of them.
I was telling a bunch of my Ranger buddies if it was anything other than that red, white, and blue jersey that they wear with the Rangers written down the side, I would be in love with that team.
Yeah, that they're easy to root for. I mean, because the reason people that I feel this way, other than the Penguins, where there's still always just chippiness and nastiness, because, and I don't even that'll happen anymore. I mean, who does Crosby and Malkin even hate anymore on this team? Hartnell's gone, Simmons is gone, Giroux's gone, Voracek's gone. There's no. So in the old days, we had such chippy play, and we had fisticuffs, and
Right.
you hated when Ty Domi was on the Rangers, and when Barry Beck was on the Rangers, and Thomas Sandstrom was cheap and dirty, and Mark Osborne was cheap and dirty. You hated those teams, and we were teenagers, living in the glory of the Zezel Taki years and Kerr and Poole, and you just don't have that hatred anymore because there's no chippy or nastiness anymore.
Right.
At least, and our team is so bad, I don't think teams even sweat us. I mean, I kind of still hate Washington because I think they play a cheap, dirty game.
Yep.
But maybe if that was my roster, I would be able to defend the cheap, dirty play. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but that's why I can't hate the Rangers like I did back in the day, and it's almost like blasphemy to say that. I just have so much respect for them.
Right.
All right, so we're going to transition now into. So Nick says Rangers, Avs repeat. I say Canes, Avs. I just think the Rangers might be just one more year away. That need one more growth year. I could be wrong.
I think last year was, in my opinion, that year was last year for me. So that's why I went with it.
I just think they took that step a little earlier than I anticipated.
Yep.
But I have no issue with that pick. I think it could easily happen. So now we're going to transition into the player awards that we predicted in the season. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, if you notice bottom center of our podcast, you'll see JN Sports Breaks. We're talking about great players coming up. You're going to want to have their hockey cards and perhaps other cards. The sports card industry is booming, and now is the time to start collecting in. No matter the sport, the novelty and value of the hobby is at an all-time high. That being said, JN Sports Breaks is a Facebook page where it comes full circle. Started by John and Nick, 2 blue-collar guys from the tri-state area, this page creates a fan-friendly atmosphere while giving the collector what they want. Whether you're new to the hobby or a seasoned collector like Nick, I collect still, JN has a break for you. Make sure you're following today for all the free promos, games, and giveaways. As a bonus, mention this ad and receive $5 off your first break. Remember, follow JN Sports Break on Facebook and also on Whatnot app at JN Sports Break, and that's all one word. You have to check them out on Facebook, play around, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. It is a fun, great company, JN Sports Break. All right, let's segue right into it, Nick. We're visualizing some of these great guys on sports cards. Who wins the Hart Trophy for League's MVP?
Oh man, I've got it down. I think last year I went with Draisaitl just because I didn't want to go chalk.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go chalk, and I've got to get off the chalk on one of these, and I think I'm going to do that for the Vezina, but I am going to go with Connor McDavid.
Yeah, me too. I did the same exact thing. I didn't, you don't exactly remember the winners from last year, although it did
Right.
take me about 10 seconds to recollect who it was. But I just went like gut instinct. I mean, I have Connor McDavid. Um, he can fall out of bed
Hmm.
and automatically just roll up the points.
Yeah.
He can do it all. I mean, if he wants to lead the league in scoring, he could just take that over.
Yeah.
But he loves to distribute as well. He's just
Yes.
a complete package and just a missile on the ice. Um, Norris Trophy, our favorite defenseman that we both chose last year won it
Hmm.
in Cale Makar, and I revisit that pick as a back-to-back winner. I say Makar wins it again.
I do too. I mean, I was vacillating between, because I just feel like the Rangers are going to have such a big year this year. I vacillate between,
Fox, yeah.
Fox. Yeah. But, Adam Fox is a great, great player. I love him. I love watching him. I've said in previous podcasts, I've seen him, in his teenage years grow as a player, and he's spectacular. But it's hard to deny Cal Makar.
And their games
I don't
aren't
know.
too dissimilar.
No, they're not.
They're both
They're
tiny
not.
guys with great skating ability. They have like centerman like eyes with their passing
Yeah.
skills. They find the puck. They find the lane to get the puck to the net. And they're great with their sticks. They're not
Yeah.
overly physical, but they're just tremendously smart hockey players. And again, listen, you also have Roman Yossi, who just always is a monster,
Yeah.
and Victor Hedman. Any of those four guys could easily win it, and you couldn't really have an argument against it. Um, last year last year I thought outside the box, and I went. Who did I go with? Did I go Winnipeg? I went Winnipeg. I went
No, I think I went Winnipeg last year. You went Winnipeg the year before.
as far as Vesna.
Oh, Vesna. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Connor
think I
Hellebuck.
I went
Yeah.
Halibut, I believe, for Vesna, but I said really my 1A is Shesterkin,
Right.
and that's who I really thought was gonna win it. If you think I'm hedging a little bit, you can go back to our show. I kinda picked Hellebuck, but I really believed in Shesterkin,
Right.
I'm not even gonna. I think he is. I've loved him before anyone even knew who he was, and he proved me right. I'm not always right,
Yeah.
but he proved me right,
You
and I'm
did. You
gonna
called it way early.
I'm gonna go for a repeat again with Shesterkin as the Vezina
Mhm.
winner.
I'm going to go with Hellebuck since I'm of the mindset that they're going to really turn it around this year and surprise a lot of people, and I think that's gonna start and end with Hellebuck. I've always been a big Hellebuck supporter, fan, love his style. Back to his collegiate days at UMass Lowell, and that's going to be my pick. That's where I'm going off the chalk a little bit.
No, that was kind of my thinking last year. I had them as my sleeper to go to the Cup. You remember?
Yeah, yeah,
I had them in the Avs. Excuse
right,
me,
right,
them
right,
in the Lightning. And I said really I think the Avs will get there, but I said to think outside of the box, not do chalk. I went Winnipeg, but they just Jamie Leach, our friend Jamie Leach, who we need to have back on our show. He was giving me scouting reports that they just played undisciplined hockey, and now that they have Rick Bowness as their coach, I think
yeah,
that structure will be brought back. To your point, and if they do bounce back, a goalie's going to get you there. So I think that's a wise pick, but I still like Shesterkin.
yeah,
At least these guys are going to be in the conversation.
right.
Calder, I have Matty Berniers from Seattle winning it,
Mm-hmm.
and I have Mason McTavish on his tail as a secondary type kid.
Yeah, Beniers is still eligible, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think he played 10 games, or
okay.
he's eligible. Yeah.
Wow, that's going to be hard to. He's really good. The only thing with that is, being on that team
You get a
might
lot of ice time.
hamper that a little bit. Yeah, that's true too. Oh, originally I had McTavish as my pick. Not just totally forgetting that Beniers was still eligible. I'm going to stick with McTavish.
No, obviously I agree because he was my secondary pick as well. That kid really opened my eyes in the brief tournament before it was shut down.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a player. All right, so we're ahead of our schedule, Nick. So let's
Yep.
continue. The Rocket Richard, the league's goal scoring leader. Hart Trophy is just the best player
Yep.
overall, but the goal scoring title leader is the Rocket Richard Trophy. Last year was Austin Matthews. Who do you take this year?
I'm going to go Connor McDavid.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll win. I think he'll win both. It's just I thought again about Draisaitl. I mean, those two just together are just magic. But
Yeah, I don't know how many years we can literally say
I know
Matthews, Draisaitl, McDavid, flip the coin.
many.
I mean, that's literally I have written down Matthews, Draisaitl, McDavid.
Yeah.
It's if I just just to give an answer, I'll say Matthews repeats only because of like maybe McDavid sharing the wealth a little bit with Draisaitl.
Right. Right.
I mean, obviously Toronto has a lot of talent, and I actually had to, our good friend James Roberts that we always do shows with, who's a big Toronto fan, and he has that great offside hockey um, podcast. He's obviously, I'm sure, predicting his Leafs to get to the cup, and they're a strong goaltender away from doing it. Um, so we shall see, but they're a damn good hockey club also. Now, the Jack Adams Award went to Sutter last year with the Flames.
Mm-hmm.
Did a great job. We have a lot of new coaches. I mean, if we think Detroit has that Ranger-like jump, does someone like Derek Lalonde get consideration? Of course he might. The Sens, we're talking with Giroux and DeBrincat joining the team. They could take that step. But I'm going to go with an established coach that might just get over the hump. And if I have him going to the finals, I think Rod Brindamore will finally get his due
Mm-hmm.
this year. So that's my coach of the year.
He was my pick last year. So
And he
I'm going to go with
could have and should have.
I'm going to go with my Eastern Conference finalist head coach with Mike Sullivan. I think he's a great coach. I really like him. And if he does what I think is going to happen with that organization this year, I think he'll be well deserved.
All right. And last but not least, again, I don't know why they haven't done this already. It should be called the Patrice Bergeron Award, but we're talking about the Selke Award. I mean, Patrice wins it every year. The only year he didn't win it was a few years ago when Couturier won it. So I go Bergeron with Barkov barking down his neck. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. So I say it's a Barkov Bergeron finalist situation for the Selke.
I'm with Bergeron all the way.
They have to rename the award. When he retired, they have to rename it.
They will.
I'm not even joking. They have to rename it when he retired.
They will.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to explain our format to some extent. Obviously, if and when we have a great guest to interview, our shows are going to be longer. But even if the Flyers were an on fire team, it gets to a point where, I know you think we're good looking guys and you love to hear our voices, but you don't want to hear us for 40 minutes, right?
No.
So,
by the way, I think I said Mike Sullivan.
He's Pittsburgh. I didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of back him when he was with the Rangers, but I meant Gallant. Yeah.
Gerald
you know
Gallant.
what I meant. You know what
I meant. I was thinking, do I correct him? But I didn't want to embarrass my Nick the Scout. But the bottom line is, we're going to stick with the 5 minutes for fighting type format, where our goal is to have a between 5 to 10 minute length show, just to maybe give you weekly breakdowns, what we saw each and every week. Maybe talk about players that are surprising us with their play. Maybe discuss players from the minors that need to be called up. So look for a shorter format unless we have a really special guest. The
Which we do plan on getting too.
Yeah, we do. We do. And we have some in our back pockets that we could easily call. But honestly, to have a guest to talk about Flyers hockey might not even be something the guest wants to do, talk about
Yeah.
Flyers hockey. So we might go more league-based guests this year.
Right.
Listen, in 84, 85, Nick, many people projected the Flyers to be a disaster. Bobby Clark, Bill Barber retired. Darryl Sittler was traded. Bob Daly retired because of injury. Jimmy Watson retired because of injury. The old Broad Street Bullies, 90% of them are gone. You had Craven, Tocchet, Zezel, Derek Smith, added to second, third year players like Sinisalo and company. You only had the veterans of Kerr and Marsh really on the team. And obviously you had still a young Pelly Eklund transitioning into a young Ron Hextall. Nobody thought that team was going to be anything. You had a rookie
Right.
coach from juniors, and it was, I think, one of the Flyers' top point-getting team of all time, who went to the finals and lost to the juggernaut Edmonton Oilers.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not saying this team is anywhere in that category. That was the first year Tim Kerr exploded as a 50-goal scorer. We don't have that kind of player on the horizon. We don't have a Dave Poulin type leader. We don't have a Mark Howe on the blue line. We thought Provorov was going to be that.
And we thought that
So
Carrier would be the leader too.
yeah, and we're decimated with injuries from jump. So we said that we think the Flyers will be a bottom four team in the league, not just their conference or division, in the league. But anything could happen. Lightning in a bottle can happen. A coaching change could spark something. A player that we didn't envision stepping up his game could happen. A trade could happen. But my gut says it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So our shows will be short and theme based and will be in and out. So this will probably be the longest show you'll see in a while. And we'll be back probably after the first few games take place to let you know our thoughts on the first week of the season. So we are the Heat Ratio Sport Network. We are Flyer and Ice. You gotta subscribe. You gotta check us out on YouTube. We're on all the social media platforms, as you can see below. And again, check out JNN Sports Break on Facebook. For Nick the Scout, I'm Dan Old School Green. Good hockey, everyone, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Take
Go
care.
Flyers.
Go Flyers. Be safe, everybody.